The massive alien research vessel hung silently in Earth's orbit, its sophisticated scanning systems working overtime. Inside the central observation deck, Kirill Vex adjusted his multispectral viewing screen, his three-fingered hands trembling. With a mixture of scientific curiosity and growing confusion, Earth appeared impossible. The planet glowed with radiation levels that should have obliterated any possibility of life. Geological data showed constant tectonic shifts, massive volcanic regions, extreme temperature variations, and atmospheric conditions that would crush most known biological systems. By every standard measurement in the Galactic Confederation's extensive database, this planet should have been a sterile, lifeless rock. Yet the scanners showed something entirely different. Civilizations, cities, complex technological networks. Millions of life forms moving across continents, apparently unbothered by conditions that would instantly kill 99.9% of known galactic species. June Park sat in the global monitoring station, completely unaware of the alien ship orbiting his planet. His fingers danced across holographic screens, tracking multiple environmental systems. Outside the reinforced windows, the Korean landscape displayed a typical Tuesday morning. Volcanic steam rising from distant mountains, electrical storms, crackling in the background radiation levels that would make most creatures disintegrate. For Park, this was simply home. The alien research team had classified Earth as a Class 13 Deathworld, the highest possible rating for planetary hostility. Their initial mission was simple: document the complete absence of intelligent life and understand why no civilization could potentially emerge from such brutal environmental conditions. Kirill Vex zoomed in on urban centers. Humans walked streets, drove vehicles, operated complex machinery. They didn't just survive, they seemed remarkably comfortable. Children played in areas that would be considered radioactive death zones by any other species. Workers constructed buildings near active geological fault lines. Farmers cultivated crops in regions with soil composition that should have been toxic. "This defies all scientific understanding," muttered Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the human representative, in the alien research team. She was technically human, but had spent decades working with extraterrestrial researchers, making her more alien than human in many ways. The scanning systems began collecting comprehensive data. Each piece of information challenged everything the Galactic Confederation understood about planetary life development. Humans had not just adapted to their environment, they had transformed it, engineered around its challenges, and created a thriving civilization. Radiation levels that would destroy cellular structures? Humans had developed unique genetic repair mechanisms. Extreme temperatures that would freeze or burn most organisms? They had created technological and biological adaptations. Geological instability that would crush most infrastructure? They had developed construction techniques that could withstand and redirect massive planetary forces. Kirill Vex realized they were looking at something unprecedented. Not just a species that survived, but a civilization that had turned planetary hostility into a competitive advantage. The initial mission parameters suddenly seemed laughable. This was no simple reconnaissance. This was a fundamental reassessment of what intelligent life could achieve. In the monitoring station, June Park noticed nothing unusual. He adjusted a few environmental control systems, watched a distant volcanic region stabilize through complex engineering networks, and prepared his morning coffee. To him, managing a planet that wanted to destroy its inhabitants was just another Tuesday. The alien vessel continued its silent observation, its crew transitioning from scientific investigation to something closer to profound respect. Humanity wasn't just surviving on a death world, they were masters of it. As the first data reports began streaming back to the Galactic Confederation's central research hub, one thing became crystal clear. Everything they thought they knew about planetary life was about to change. Earth was no mere planet. It was a crucible of evolution, a training ground for a species that didn't just adapt, they conquered. The research facility buzzed with an electric tension as scientists from multiple species gathered around holographic displays. Dr. Yuna Kim stood at the center, her calm demeanor masking the revolutionary data she was about to present. Biological. Samples from humans continued to defy every known scientific principle. Where other species would break, humans adapted. Their cellular structure wasn't just resilient, it was practically magical. Blood samples showed extraordinary capabilities. White blood cells could repair radiation damage in minutes, a process that would take weeks or months for other species. Genetic markers suggested continuous mutation, not the destructive kind, but precise, controlled adaptations that allowed immediate response to environmental challenges. Kirill Vex examined the neurological scans with growing astonishment. Human brains demonstrated plasticity that bordered on impossible. Neural pathways could rewire themselves almost instantaneously, creating new problem-solving methods faster than any known intelligent species. "Look at this," Eunice said, pointing to a complex genetic sequence. "Their DNA doesn't just repair itself. It anticipates potential damage and creates protective mechanisms before the threat even fully materializes." The alien researchers whispered, among themselves. This wasn't just survival. This was biological engineering at a level they had never witnessed. Comparative studies revealed something even more shocking. Humans from different planetary regions showed unique adaptations. Those living near volcanic regions had enhanced heat resistance. Arctic populations demonstrated extraordinary cold tolerance. People from high radiation zones had developed cellular repair mechanisms that seemed almost supernatural. A researcher from the Quantum Biological Institute calculated the probabilities. The chance of a species developing such comprehensive adaptive mechanisms was essentially zero. Yet here were humans, existing and thriving against all statistical likelihood. Muscle tissue samples showed strength beyond normal biological limits. Bones demonstrated flexibility and durability that suggested deliberate evolutionary optimization. Even human skin contained microscopic protective layers that could adjust to environmental conditions in real time. "They're not just surviving," Kirill Vex muttered. "They're designing themselves." The most fascinating discovery came from studying human medical history. Diseases that would devastate other species were treated almost casually. Cancer, genetic disorders, environmental mutations. Humans had developed treatments and adaptations that turned potential extinction-level threats into manageable challenges. Una pulled up a comprehensive genetic analysis. "Their evolutionary path isn't linear," she explained. "It's more like a constant rapid optimization system. Each generation doesn't just inherit traits, it actively improves them." The implications were staggering. Humans weren't just a species. They were a living, breathing technological system that happened to use biological components. Psychological studies were equally fascinating. Human brains processed stress differently. What would paralyze other species became a motivation for problem-solving. Extreme conditions didn't break human spirit. They challenged it. Military researchers in the alien delegation were particularly interested. Human bodies could be injected with experimental treatments that would kill other species, and they would not just survive. They would integrate the changes into their biological system. One researcher noted how humans had transformed entire planetary ecosystems. Where other species would be destroyed by environmental changes, humans engineered solutions. Deserts became farmland. Toxic regions were cleaned and repopulated. Entire climate systems were gradually reshaped through technological and biological interventions. Kirill Vex realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. Humans weren't just adapting to their environment. They were actively redesigning it to suit their needs. The final report would take months to compile, but the initial conclusion was clear. Humans represented a biological and technological anomaly that challenged everything the Galactic Confederation understood about life, evolution, and survival. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a living laboratory of evolutionary potential, and humanity was its most remarkable experiment. As the researchers continued their analysis, one thing became abundantly clear. They had discovered a species that didn't just survive against impossible odds. They transformed those odds into opportunities. The international space development. Complex stood as a testament to human ingenuity. David Rodriguez walked confidently through halls lined with prototypes that would make most alien species question their technological understanding. Outside the complex, what was once a barren desert now flourished with carefully engineered vegetation. Massive solar collectors transformed harsh sunlight into sustainable energy. Water generation systems pulled moisture from the air with near magical efficiency. Kirill Vex watched the demonstration, his multiple eyes struggling to process what he was seeing. Humans didn't just create technology, they reimagined entire planetary systems. Rodriguez approached a complex holographic display. With a simple gesture, he showed how they had transformed 3 major desert regions into habitable zones over the past decade. What should have taken centuries happened in mere years. "We don't wait for solutions," he explained casually. "We create them." The alien delegation noticed something extraordinary about human technology. Unlike other species that developed specialized tools, humans created adaptive technologies. A single device could be repurposed for multiple functions, constantly evolving, to meet changing needs. Environmental reconstruction machines stood as the most impressive technological marvel. These massive units could clean toxic regions, regenerate soil, balance atmospheric conditions, and create sustainable ecosystems in areas previously considered completely uninhabitable. One researcher calculated that these machines could potentially transform entire planetary systems. Where other species would spend generations studying a hostile environment, humans would already be redesigning it. Quantum computing systems developed by humans showed capabilities that challenged fundamental understanding of information processing. Their algorithms could predict and solve complex environmental challenges faster than any known technological system. Medical technology was equally revolutionary. Nanobots developed by human scientists could repair cellular damage, fight diseases, and enhance human capabilities. What would take other species centuries of development happened in human research laboratories within months. Energy production systems defied traditional understanding. Humans had developed methods to harvest energy from multiple sources simultaneously. Volcanic heat, solar radiation, wind patterns. Nothing was wasted. Every environmental challenge became an energy opportunity. The most shocking revelation came from their space exploration technologies. Compact, efficient spacecraft design allowed humans to consider interplanetary travel with resources that would barely power a small shuttle for other species. Communication technologies demonstrated similar innovation. Their networks could maintain complex information exchanges in conditions that would destroy traditional communication systems. Radiation, extreme temperatures, geological interference. Nothing disrupted human technological networks. Agricultural technology showed how humans transformed limitations into advantages. Crops could be grown in seemingly impossible conditions. Genetic engineering allowed food production in areas that would be considered completely sterile by other standards. Kirill Vex realized something profound. Human technology wasn't just about creating tools. It was about constant adaptation, continuous improvement, and transforming challenges into opportunities. Rodriguez demonstrated a final project, a compact device that could purify water, generate electricity, and provide basic medical support in extreme conditions. Something that would require multiple complex systems for other species was a simple, elegant solution for humans. "We don't design for perfect conditions," Rodriguez explained. "We design for the worst possible scenario and then make it work." The alien researchers understood then that they weren't just looking at technological development, they were witnessing a species that had turned technological innovation into a survival mechanism. Humans didn't just create technology, they breathed life into it, constantly reshaping, reimagining, and rebuilding. Every challenge was an invitation to create something new. As the demonstration concluded, the alien delegation sat in stunned silence. They had arrived expecting to document a primitive civilization struggling to survive. Instead, they discovered a species that was rewriting the fundamental rules of technological development. The United Nations Special Assembly Hall buzzed with an unusual tension. Representatives from every human nation sat alongside alien delegates from the Galactic Confederation, creating a scene that would have been impossible just months earlier. June. Park stood at the central podium, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the historical significance of the moment. Behind him, massive holographic displays showed Earth's complex planetary systems, environmental challenges, and human achievements. Kirill, Vex, lead representative of the alien delegation, felt increasingly uncomfortable. Their initial mission to document a primitive species had transformed into something entirely unexpected. "You came expecting a dead planet," June began, his voice steady and matter-of-fact. "What you found was a living system that has been fighting for survival for thousands of years." The alien representatives shifted in their seats. Their advanced scanning technologies had shown them Earth's brutal environmental conditions. Constant volcanic activity, extreme radiation levels, unpredictable geological shifts, conditions that would have destroyed any other civilization. Yet humans had not just survived. They had thrived. Park's presentation was methodical. He demonstrated how humans had transformed toxic environments into productive zones. Deserts became agricultural centers. Radioactive regions were cleaned and repopulated. Entire ecosystems were redesigned and rebuilt. "We don't see challenges," he explained. "We see opportunities." The diplomatic confrontation wasn't about conflict. It was about fundamental understanding. Humans were presenting themselves not as a species seeking protection or assistance, but as potential partners with unique capabilities. Kirill Vex realized something profound. Humans weren't asking to join the Galactic Confederation. They were proposing to revolutionize it. Technological demonstrations followed. Compact devices that could solve multiple planetary challenges. Communication systems that could work in extreme conditions. Medical technologies that could adapt to multiple biological structures. One alien representative asked the critical question, "Why haven't you sought contact before?" June's response was simple. "We were busy solving our own problems. Your arrival was interesting, but not essential." The room fell silent. It was a statement that completely reversed traditional first contact scenarios. Humans weren't desperate to meet alien civilizations. They were doing just fine on their own. Environmental data showed how humans had essentially engineered their entire planet. Atmospheric control systems, geological stabilization technologies, comprehensive ecosystem management. They had turned a Deathworld into a functional, sustainable home. The alien delegation's initial reports seemed laughable. Now, their classification of Earth as a Class 13 Deathworld now looked like a massive underestimation. Park outlined potential collaborative projects, planetary reconstruction technologies, adaptive medical research, environmental engineering methods. Each proposal demonstrated not just human capabilities, but a fundamental approach to problem-solving that was unique in the galaxy. Kirill Vex understood then that humans weren't just another species. They were a potential game-changer for galactic civilization. The diplomatic meeting wasn't about submission or integration. It was a clear demonstration of human potential. They weren't asking to be accepted. They were showing what was possible. As the presentations concluded, the alien delegates realized something transformative. Humans weren't seeking approval or protection. They were offering a new perspective on survival, adaptation, and technological innovation. "We don't just survive," June said in his closing statement. "We reimagine what's possible." The room erupted in a mix of applause and stunned silence. The Galactic Confederation had arrived expecting to document a primitive species struggling on a hostile planet. Instead, they had discovered a civilization that was about to change everything. They understood about life, technology, and survival. The interstellar conference chamber was unlike anything humans had seen before. Holographic representations of multiple alien species flickered around a central platform where June Park stood, calm and collected. Weeks had passed since the initial diplomatic encounter. The Galactic Confederation was still processing the implications of humanity's extraordinary capabilities. Kirill Vex presented the comprehensive report. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a living laboratory of evolutionary potential. Human adaptation wasn't just biological, it was a comprehensive system of continuous improvement that challenged every known scientific understanding. The classification update was revolutionary. Previous status, Class 13. Deathworld, new status. Evolutionary anomaly recommendation. Immediate strategic diplomatic engagement. Researchers from dozens of alien civilizations studied human data. Their biological systems, technological innovations, and planetary management techniques represented something unprecedented. Humans had turned planetary hostility into a competitive advantage. Military strategists were particularly interested. Human technological adaptability meant they could develop defensive and offensive capabilities faster than any known species. A civilization that could transform a brutal planetary environment could easily adapt to interstellar challenges. Dr. Elena Rodriguez explained humanity's core philosophy. "We don't see limitations," she told the assembled delegates. "We see opportunities for innovation." The economic implications were staggering. Human technologies could potentially solve environmental challenges for multiple planetary systems. Their water purification systems, energy generation methods, and ecological reconstruction technologies were decades ahead of other civilizations. Diplomatic representatives realized they weren't dealing with a typical emerging species. Humans had developed a civilization that could potentially reshape galactic understanding of survival, technology, and adaptation. Genetic researchers discovered something even more extraordinary. Human DNA demonstrated a unique ability to not just adapt, but to actively improve with each generation. What would take other species thousands of years happened in human populations within decades. The Quantum Biological Institute calculated the probabilities. The chance of a species developing such comprehensive adaptive mechanisms was essentially zero. Yet humans existed, thriving against all statistical likelihood. Kirill Vex understood the profound nature of their discovery. Humans weren't just another species to be categorized or managed. They were a potential key to understanding evolutionary potential across the galaxy. Communication technologies developed by humans could potentially connect distant planetary systems more efficiently than existing galactic networks. Their compact, adaptable systems challenged fundamental understanding of information exchange. Space exploration departments were particularly excited. Human spacecraft designs suggested capabilities that could revolutionize interstellar travel. Compact engines, adaptive life support systems, and radiation resistance that defied current technological understanding. The conference wasn't just a diplomatic meeting. It was a fundamental reassessment of what intelligent life could achieve. "We're not asking for permission," June Park said during his final presentation. "We're offering collaboration." The alien delegates recognized the significance. Humans weren't seeking protection or integration. They were proposing a partnership that could transform galactic civilization. Environmental reconstruction technologies developed by humans could potentially transform multiple planetary systems. Techniques for cleaning toxic regions, regenerating ecosystems, and managing extreme environmental conditions were decades ahead of current galactic standards. Medical researchers were stunned by human biological capabilities. Their immune systems, cellular repair mechanisms, and genetic adaptability suggested a species that was essentially designing its own evolutionary path. As the conference concluded, one thing became crystal clear. Humanity represented something entirely new in the galactic landscape. Not just a species, but a dynamic, constantly improving system of biological and technological innovation. The Galactic Confederation's final recommendation was unanimous. Humanity wasn't just to be studied, they were to be understood, respected, and potentially learned from. The classification was clear. Humanity was no longer just another emerging civilization. They were a potential key to understanding the next stage of evolutionary potential.